What's going on, everyone? Anthony Cofrancesco here from Data Dive, and this is Office Hours. Today, we're going to continue to prepare for our Data Dive certification. Today, we're focusing on part one of our four-part optimization workflow, and we're going to be focusing on SEO. So we've got some slides that we're going to be covering today. Got a pretty good breakdown. For anyone joining on YouTube, or if you joined one of the other sessions, I promise come back for the YouTube recording because we'll get into the bonus real world case studies about catalog issues. You can click on the markers down below on the YouTube video and skip ahead to the section that you'd like to navigate to. If you're not already using Data Dive, you should definitely book a call with one of our coaches. Everyone here has experience selling on Amazon. Many of them have just recently launched new products. So they're going to give you insights not only about how Data Dive works, but you'll get deeper insights about your brand. You can go to datadive.tools/demo. There's a link down in these videos on YouTube, or you can scan the QR code on the screen. Now, we're going to open it up for Q&A at the end. There's two different ways that you can ask questions. You can raise your hand, or you can type your questions into the chat. There's three different ways that you can become a Data Dive expert. We have our knowledge base powered by our AI chatbot. We have our YouTube channel, and then we do office hours 3 times a week. So if you want to access the knowledge base, just click in the question mark icon on the bottom right-hand side of your Data Dive app, and you can go straight to the knowledge base, or you can type a question into the chat, like how to start a dive, and our AI chatbot is going to look through all of the articles that we have and either give you the answer or route you to the correct article. All of our past office hours sessions are up live on the YouTube channel. You'll find them in the Office Hours V2 playlist. Everything's there. So we try to get these videos up on the Thursday after all of the sessions for the week have been concluded. And today, what we're going to be focusing on, again, last week we were covering our Data Dive certification program and giving you a high-level overview of these workflows. Today, we're going to start breaking into our first part one workflow, which is SEO. Now, what you need to understand about SEO and how it pertains to your strategy on Amazon is that Amazon's ranking algorithm is comprised of 4 key parts. You have your relevancy, your click-through rate, your conversion rate, and your revenue. And so relevancy is going into that first area, your SEO. How is your listing written? What keywords does Amazon think are relevant for your product? And if there's a mismatch between what you think your product should be and what you're showing up for, what steps can you take to improve your organic rank and get indexed for keywords? So when we're looking at the overall ranking algorithm for Amazon, we have relevancy times your performance, your click-through rate, your conversion rate, and your revenue. And so we're going to get into this today. Relevancy SEO, part one of this workflow, is the easiest thing to do. It's the fastest to execute, but it's the most important because if you try to optimize your click-through rate, conversion rate, revenue, and you haven't solved for relevancy, if you're not already indexed for the keywords you need to be indexed for, it's going to greatly diminish all of the actions that you're taking in the other half of the equation. So just remember, Amazon's ranking algorithm, really your organic rank is going to equal your relevancy times performance, where performance is your click-through rate, conversion rate, and revenue, your sales velocity. So the analogy that I like to give when we're talking about SEO optimization is this rocket ship here. And so what your SEO optimization, your relevancy is going to, how it translates into the business is, think of your SEO optimization as the cap, the maximum height that that rocket can reach. And then your performance is going to be the slope, how quickly that rocket is accelerating to the maximum height or that cap. So if you have a listing and it's only 25% of the way optimized, not possible if you're using Data Dive, it's going to already do a lot more than that for you. But let's just say I only told Amazon in my listing 25% of the keywords that are actually relevant to that niche. Well, your performance can be really great, but at some point you're going to hit this upper ceiling. You'll get indexed, you'll get high ranks for the keywords that you've reinforced in your listing, but you won't be able to go much higher than that. And so we can follow this up to 50%, 85%, and even above 100%, right? Let's say that you get indexed for all of the keywords in your master keyword list. And now you're thinking, I want to go a little bit more general. I want to go more broad. You can now start to focus on outlier keywords and actually get indexed for a larger percentage of the MKL than what was originally included. So, like I said earlier, if you don't address relevancy, if you don't address your listing optimization first, it's going to limit everything else that you're doing. And you might have great performance, but if that relevancy piece isn't figured out, you're going to hit a wall, you're going to hit a ceiling rather. So, the process that we should be trying to accomplish here with SEO optimization and the workflow is we're just going to keep finding gaps in our master keyword list. We're going to fix those gaps, and we're going to do that month after month after month. The ideal cadence is making a meaningful change really once a week until you're 100%, 100% plus optimized. So the key takeaway, what I want everyone to remember is that in most cases, SEO is not going to fix your business. It's not going to radically change your business, but it is the important, crucial first step. And for best results, you're going to want a combined effort. So you're going to fix this relevancy SEO first, then you're going to move on to performance. And that's what we're going to be covering next week. Click-through rate, week after conversion, week after that revenue. Okay. The best example I've ever seen of SEO optimization, we were speaking at Kevin King's event. We were giving an example up on the screen of a 6-deck card shuffler. You might have heard this story before. The seller of the product was actually out in the audience. They came up to us after the talk because we were showing that this 6-deck card shuffler was really well indexed for all of these keywords related to 6-deck. But if you think about a card shuffler for 6 decks, it can also shuffle 4 decks. It can also shuffle 2 decks. And so what we showed in the presentation was a gap in the master keyword list where all of the keywords related to 2-deck card shuffler, they weren't indexed for at all, or their organic rank was very low. So that seller came up and talked to us after the event and said, I'm going to go and rewrite my listing like you showed in today's workshop. He came back the next day, was already indexed, getting high organic ranks for not just one keyword, but all of those keywords related to that route, and told us that just that change alone in the listing is going to give him an extra $100,000 of sales a year. Now, $100,000 might sound like a lot, especially if you're considering the amount of time it took to make that change or to diagnose that issue. But this is a brand that was already doing 7 figures plus. So like I said, it's not going to radically change your business. You're not going to 2x your business from this. But what you will do is increase the effectiveness of the performance that you already have, and you're going to raise that ceiling for the keywords that you can be indexed for. So what we're going to be covering today, like I said, is this optimized SEO. We're going to go through some essential framework. I'm going to give you a couple of test questions that are from the certification exam. And then next week, we're going to get into the performance side of things. We're going to look at click-through rate. We're going to look at conversion rate. And then PPC is going to be part 4. That's 3 weeks from right now. So I'm going to take a minute real quick and open up this other tab. And I'm going to drop this link down in the chat below so you can feel free to follow along with the workflow. This page isn't pretty yet. It's going to get better. But this, you can go and download all of the workflows that we have available. I just saw the draft for the optimized CTR. So this should be ready tomorrow, and it'll go out with the recap email. But just go and click on part 1, SEO optimization. You can follow along on what I'm going to show you here, and you're going to want to practice this on your own. So what do we got here? So this is what the workflow looks like. Before using something like Data Dive, if you're trying to do this manually, you're going to spend 2+ hours to go through this process. The first time that you do this, it's going to take you about 30 minutes. But once you've done this 5+ times, you're going to get a lot faster. We're thinking about 15 minutes and maybe even a little bit less to diagnose the problem, fix it, come up with a strategy, and then execute on that strategy. And so the workflow, as we've covered a couple times in office hours, is as follows. So you're going to check the SEO for you're going to analyze the niche, and you're going to see the lay of the land. Where are you ranking well? Where are you at relative to other competitors? What are the keywords that you're not indexed for or have very low organic rank. Once you've done a quick overview analysis, you're going to look at the MKL specifically for gaps. These are areas where your organic rank is low or you're not indexed for keywords. Next, we're going to compare the gaps that we found in the MKL to the listing builder. We're going to rewrite the listing. We're going to set up rank tracking, and then we're going to optimize over and over again with rewriting the listing, setting up rank tracking and highlights, and then seeing what the data shows us and repeating these last few steps over and over again. So when you're inside of this workflow, let's go here to the SEO. This goes in a lot more detail than that. And I'm not going to go this deep for office hours because I think a lot of this is pretty self-explanatory. But you can click on these different sections and say, okay, well, I already know how to clean my MKL. I know how to find gaps in the MKL, but I need help with rewriting the listing. So it gives you some overall steps here. And it also gives you a video that you can scan the QR code or click on this link, and there's going to be a video that goes in more depth, a deeper breakdown. So follow along on your own in the guide, and we're going to go through some practical examples once we get through this essential framework. So the essential framework is really, what do you need to understand about the bigger picture, some key terms, and these are going to be questions that you're going to see on the exam. So if you're planning on taking the certification, you should know the basis for these fundamentals. So number one is, before we get started, we have to clean the master keyword list. When we start, it's what we call a dirty list. And so what we have to do is remove branded search terms and remove any keywords that are not relevant to the product that we're trying to sell. So if you want to remove a term rather, you click on the checkbox next to the keyword, this banner pops up, and then you can click on it. It'll remove that from your MKL. You can also click on this B button, and it's going to identify some of the brand names in your niche. Once a keyword is excluded, there's this I with a slash through it icon in the top, in the middle of your data dive screen on every page. There you can see all of your excluded keywords. And if you want to add keywords back into your MKL, you can do that. Before you move on to doing any analysis, you want to make sure this is done. Because if you start trying to write the listing and you have branded search terms or irrelevant keywords in there, it's going to mess up all the efforts that you're trying to do with optimization. So once we've cleaned the MKL, what I want to go through now is a few key terms that are important to understand. Organic rank, search volume, relevancy, ranking juice, remaining ranking juice, outlier keywords, and roots. So organic rank is pretty straightforward. You're going to find the organic rank for each product underneath in this column here. Red equals high competition, green equals low competition. If it's your product, you want all reds, all ones completely down the row. If it's your competition, you'd like it to be all greens with no number, meaning that they're indexed out of the top 101 positions. If it's your product and you see a green or you're not indexed for a keyword, that's going to be the area that you're going to want to try to focus on to see if you can improve that rank or get indexed. All of this is updated as of the last time you updated the research. So this MKL does not update automatically unless you set it to do so through auto dives. Search volume is the estimated monthly searches for a keyword. I recommend that you sort so that the largest search volume keywords are up at the top in descending order. This is pretty straightforward. Relevancy, this is a big one, and we covered it in last week's office hours. So relevancy doesn't necessarily mean that a keyword is more or less relevant. It's just a math equation inside a data dive, which says for this keyword, cheap binoculars, for example, 32% of the sellers I've included in this niche are indexed on page 1 for that keyword. So it doesn't necessarily mean that cheap binoculars is any more or less relevant than toddler binoculars 2 to 4 years. It just means that much fewer people are using cheap binoculars in their ranking strategy or are indexed for this keyword versus 3/4 of the niche is indexed for toddler binoculars 2 to 4. This is particularly relevant with outliers. We'll get to those in a second. Okay, so now moving on, talking about ranking juice. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but ranking juice is a proprietary metric that Data Dive created, and we use this to estimate the ranking potential of different keywords in the listing. What we're essentially doing is we're looking at the keyword root. We'll explain what that means in a minute, but we're looking for the keyword root with the largest broad search volume. These are going to be the most important, our biggest priority. And then we're giving you a multiplier based on the location in the listing and the match type. What you have to remember is that title is going to be your strongest listing position. You'll get 3x ranking juice for your title, 2x ranking juice for your bullets, 1x ranking juice for your description. And then for match type, you're going to get a bonus if it's an exact match. That's the strongest. And it goes down from here. So what you have to remember when it comes to ranking juice is largest aggregate search volume roots. And if they're not in your listing, you want to put them in your title in an exact match to start. Remaining ranking juice is a helpful tool that I think not a lot of people use inside Data Dive. And what it does is based on the listing that's written into the listing builder, it's saying if you would add a keyword like kids binoculars ages 4 to 8, this is going to give you an extra 6,000 ranking juice if I would switch this from a broad plural match to an exact match. This is my hits counter, and it's showing me my title, bullets, and description. You'll find this inside of the listing builder. So I don't like this method for optimizing nearly as much as what I'm about to show you. But if you really don't know where to start and you're just trying to optimize for ranking juice, you can sort this so that the largest remaining ranking juice is up at the top, and you can get an idea of what keywords could you still add to your listing to increase your ranking juice score. Outlier keywords are keywords that are outside of the master keyword list. So these are not typically your core keywords. They're usually more general, sometimes very large search volume keywords, gift keywords, variation keywords can be here. With outlier keywords, what I would recommend is you're going to focus on your MKL first. Once you're indexed for a large percentage, like 80+% of the MKL, and your organic ranks are high, and you're thinking, okay, I'm good to start focusing a little bit broader, that's when I would start looking at outlier keywords. I would recommend checking this in the beginning and just making sure there's nothing in outlier keywords that is a super relevant keyword from your own brain. If it's in outliers, it's going to have a low relevancy score because not many sellers are using it. But sometimes, not always, you'll find gold nuggets in here that are super valuable that no one else is taking advantage of. Okay, potentially gold mines of expansion. So last one on here is roots. You'll definitely find this on the exam. A keyword root, and just remember this definition for when you're working on your own. A keyword root is 2 or more words that's a unique way of describing a product. So the reason that binoculars kids is important isn't just for the keyword binoculars in kids. It's because binoculars kids is a root which includes 7 other keywords with a broad search volume of 44,000. Similar but different from Amazon's ranking algorithm is kids binoculars. Same 2 words here, but in a different order. So this is a separate root, which includes 4 keywords with a broad search volume of 30,000. And so if you understand the concept of roots, it's going to help you in writing a listing that if I want to get high ranking juice without even looking at the listing builder, without using the AI tools, I can say, well, if I'm writing my listing, I'm going to say Anthony's binoculars kids dash kids binoculars for outdoor exploration. And it's going to give me a majority of the ranking juice for this niche just with having those 4 keywords there. These ones are pretty similar overlaps. Not all niches are going to look like this. Getting back to this point here, Amazon's ranking algorithm, what you have to remember is you have relevancy times performance, and relevancy is your SEO, performance is your click-through rate, conversion rate, and revenue. Amazon decides who deserves to move up in ranks based on who is outperforming the average of the niche. The person who moves down in ranks is the person who's underperforming, and the person who stays in the middle at their current rank is the person who's neither overperforming or underperforming on these different metrics. SEO is just that ceiling, enabling that your rocket is going to be able to hit the maximum height. So just like we did last week, we have 2 sets of sample test questions here. So I think based on what we covered so far, we'll see if this is easy or difficult. We only have 12 people on this call right now. This is Asia Pacific, so it's always a little bit smaller. But I want to get maximum participation, so I want you to type in these answers here. what's the problem here? We're looking at this brand for Scott and Malone. They're indexed really well for almost all of the keywords in the master keyword list. The only exception is a branded search term here, leapfrog binoculars, where they're 8. And then we have leapfrog binoculars down here, where they're 16. Their title is not super well optimized. They're 16 out of 26. So there's some extra ranking juice that could potentially be left on the table. But from an overall perspective, they're doing quite well here. And so the question is this: Scott Malone currently has the listing that's shown and corresponding performance on the MKL. What would be the next optimization steps? And don't type in your answers yet. I want to give everyone a minute to look at this. When you're answering these questions, if you're going to take the test, what I would try to do first is eliminate the answers that you know 100% are incorrect, and then it's going to help determine which one is correct. So look at this for another 30 seconds. I'm going to turn off my camera, and then we'll open it up and everyone will start voting. Okay, cool. So I think we've given everyone 1 minute. This one, if you paid attention to what I just taught, the answer should be very clear. And I hope that's not a giveaway. So what I want everyone to do now is to type into the chat the answer to your question. So it's going to be like Q1, and then you have like A, B, C, D, E. So let's get those in here. I see we're getting a 404 error on the workflow page. They've been making a lot of edits to this. So if you can't access the page, don't worry. It'll be live by tomorrow when we send out the recap email. And yeah, you'll get a attachment that has the SOP in it as well. All right, so I'm not seeing, let's get some of these answers in here. Just take a guess. I'll go back and show the other screen here. We already gave away the answer. Someone might have seen it. All right, so okay, now we've got some questions rolling in. I should have left this up a little longer. So it looks like everyone has got this right. We've got A, we've got more A's. No, we got that wrong. It's C. All right, let's take a look back and see why is the answer not A and the answer is C. So we're looking at this listing, and remember, you have to be able to look at the data and look at the bigger picture here. So would the answer to this be adding more exact match keywords for low performing, add exact matches for low performing keywords in the title? Well, look, it might help us. We don't really have much extra information on what's in the listing right now. Sometimes what you're going to find is that the top seller, you can see here, my listing is 27,000 less than this. There might be like some strange random miscellaneous outlier keywords. My listing might be at 150,000, and the difference between 150 to 180, it doesn't mean that I don't have kids binoculars or binoculars kids in my listing. It probably just means that these people are way over indexed. But this is also one of the top sellers for the niche. They're selling the most units. You can see almost 5,000 units sold every month. When I'm looking at the organic ranks here, rewriting binoculars for kids, even if they're missing it, which I don't think that they are, their rank, it's not like it's going to go from 2 to 1 here rewriting this in. It's not going to go from 5 to 1 from rewriting binoculars for kids age -8 to 12. Amazon knows that this product is all of the keywords that are in red. What's going to help in this point is relevancy. We've checked off this box. What we need to do now is we need to focus on performance. So A is not going to be correct. These keywords here, leapfrog binoculars and then leapfrog binoculars, these are branded search terms. So we can't rewrite these keywords into the listing. We can only focus on these keywords from a PPC standpoint. So option B is build a new title from scratch and replace entirely with outlier keywords. That is a bad move. You don't want to do that. You're already indexed really well for keywords. You wouldn't want to scrap everything you have and go bank on these more abstract gift-related keywords. That could really hurt your performance. It could cause you to get de-indexed for a lot of keywords. And then C, this is the correct answer. Yeah, the performance of the listing should be diagnosed. So we're doing well here. We're going to want to look at this listing and see how's the click-through rate? How's the conversion rate? Look at your PPC campaigns and evaluate the performance. But relevancy in this case is going to be generally, it's in a good spot. And then the last one on here, go top of search for all keywords currently shown. Well, this could be the right answer, but realistically, for a lot of these, you might not need to be going top of search. You might want to explore other ad types. You might want to look at sponsored brands. And for some of these, you might actually be wanting to decrease spend and see if you can still maintain these organic ranks. So D could be an answer, but it's not going to be the best answer here. We'd want to go through and diagnose the performance of the listing. So there we go. Correct answer C. So if you got that wrong, don't stress. Every week, there's more and more learning. It's all preparation here. So I appreciate everyone who participated. We have one more question like that in just a little bit. So we went through the workflow. We went through the fundamentals. Let's go through and show what this workflow looks like in real life, and we'll follow through step by step. So we're going to assume that the MKL is mostly clean. There's a couple branded search terms in here, but I'll mention them when they're shown. We're working on this brand here, Living Squad. And our goal is we want to improve our SEO optimization. So I'm here looking at the master keyword list, and I can see that some of my organic ranks are very high, like this 4. That's good. A lot of the keywords are in the mid-teens. And then there's a couple areas where it's green and there's no number beside the keyword. What this means when you see green and no number, it means that we're indexed out of the top 101 positions for this keyword. So we want to get our rank up for this. But I look over and I see leapfrog binoculars. This is a branded search term. I can't write this into my listing. This keyword should really be excluded. So I'm going to move further down the list and I see, what's this here? Toy binoculars, 2,000 searches a month. I'm in position 55. So what I've just done is I've identified a gap in my master keyword list. This is something that we've covered on the channel before. But just to recap, a gap is an area where you're not indexed for a keyword or your organic rank doesn't fall in line with your other ranks. And so what's happening here is Amazon thinks you might be related to toy binoculars, but you really can't tell. Amazon really can't tell. So we found the gap in our master keyword list. Now we go over into the listing builder to see if the gap is also in the listing. So this is in the listing builder. We're looking at the section for routes, usage, and hits. And this is showing us our title, our bullets, and description. One thing that I don't show here, but it is inside the guide, is populating your product into the listing builder. So you're going to click populate, you're going to choose your product, and then it's going to pull in the title, bullets, and description. Yeah, so just remember to do that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to copy that keyword from the MKL. You're going to paste it here into the routes, usage, and hits. And when I do that, it's showing me that I've already got this keyword. It's in my bullets in a broad match. So thinking back to what we covered earlier on ranking juice, what am I going to want to do? If I want to maximize ranking juice for this keyword, if I want to tell Amazon that we are in fact toy binoculars, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this from my bullets as a broad match to an exact match in my title. When I rewrite the listing, you can see I've just added it onto the end here. I could get a little bit more creative, but this is just for demonstration. I add toy binoculars, and now this view updates, and it's telling me that in my title, I get an exact match for toy binoculars, and I get a broad match for toy binoculars for kids. Pretty straightforward stuff. We found the gap. We looked in our MKL. We looked in our listing builder. That gap was also in the listing. We rewrote the listing. Now we're going to set a highlight and do our rank tracking. So now that I've added this keyword to the title, I would upload this to Amazon first. And then once I upload this to Amazon, I would click on this checkbox here to make a highlight. And then I added a description, which is added toy binoculars, exact match to title. I put the date range on. So I'm saying that I edited this title on the 25th. Previously, I was 101 plus. And when you put that date range around your highlight, it's going to draw a box around the dates that you have selected. So now what I can do is I can keep an eye on this and see, all right, does my organic rank go up? In this case, I don't sell this product, so I haven't made this change in the listing. I think this could have potentially been when they were, maybe they didn't have it in their listing at all. They moved toy binoculars to the bullets. And so I would be curious if we now move from the bullets into the title in an exact match, is this going to go up and then fall in line with our other ranks? Like, would it be a mid-teens or maybe even a single-digit number? Okay. What everyone forgets about is to make your highlights inside a rank radar. This is what's going to keep you straight, especially when you're making one title change or one listing change rather every week until you get to that 100%. This is what's going to help keep straight of, okay, where am I actually improving on ranks? and help you keep iterating, trying different formats. Moving on here, question 2. This is the second one. Let's get maximum participation here. This seller wants to compete with Leapfrog. They're obviously not Leapfrog. This is the brand we were looking at earlier. How could they improve rank for these related keywords? We have Leapfrog binoculars, give them right here. This is a question that you're going to see on the exam, and what's important to note is this select all that apply. So there are multiple answers here that are correct. So just like before, you got to give this some thought and think, what's definitely wrong? What do I know is for sure incorrect? And then based on what's left over, which one do I think could be the correct answer here? Just like before, I'm going to leave this up for a minute, let everyone read. Don't type your answer in yet. Just figure out of all of these potential answers, which ones, plural, are correct. I'm going to give everyone 1 minute. All right, I think that is enough time. I was able to plug in my laptop, which is good. So just like before, this is going to be Q2, and you're going to type in your answers. Let's see if we can get some right answers here. And I'm going to go back and show the question just if you need to re-look at this. Let's get these ones in. We've got an ADE. We've got another ADE. We got just a D. Okay, we got E and D. All right, so we're getting some good answers here. Let's take a look, and let's first eliminate the ones that we know for sure 100% are wrong. So analyze secondary images and A+ content for optimization opportunities. Okay, it's telling me I want to get indexed for Leapfrog binoculars. That doesn't seem definitely wrong. Let's move on. Rewrite leap plus frog into the title as an exact match. Okay, we know that we can't do that. You cannot put branded search terms. If we're not Leapfrog, we cannot put that into the listing unless it's a compatibility thing, which we're not covering. So this is definitely wrong. We cannot do this. C, it's not possible to rank for branded search terms. Well, we obviously know that this is correct. Even if you're not familiar with this, we can see down here that this seller, despite not being Leapfrog, is indexed in position 9 for Leapfrog binoculars. So C is definitely wrong. Research Leapfrog offering and analyze opportunity for variation launch. So it's kind of like we want to go and see what Leapfrog is selling and see if our product is a good competitor for that product. So that one seems reasonable. And then E, analyze PPC performance for Leapfrog related keywords and products. So that also makes sense. Remember, we can't write into our listing Leapfrog, but what we can do is we can run ads. So if people search for Leapfrog binoculars, our product is showing up. We can run ads on their product detail page. We can do sponsor brand video. So PPC is fair game. If you're spending the money with Amazon, they let you do anything you want for competitors. Organic, it's a no-go. You can't write these into your listings. So the correct answer is A, D, and E. And I know I didn't show this earlier, but I don't know if this would actually be included in the test, but just to show you that this would be the correct answer here, like, could we look at the images and see, could we improve our performance overall by having images that would compete or fit if someone is searching for Leapfrog binoculars? Like, yeah, I think that's reasonable. This doesn't look like it's a major brand. It looks like it's pretty DIY put together. This doesn't look like something in my mind that would compete 1-for-1 with Leapfrog. So image optimization, focusing on performance, that seems like a good idea. Consider variation launch. This is fantastic. If you actually look at Leapfrog binoculars, it is very different from the product that we are currently showing. The product that we're currently showing is like $7. It's super cheap. It's very much a toy. This has this LCD screen. It's got a camera. $55 is the price point. So if I really want to compete with the Leapfrog binoculars that are being sold, I'm probably not going to do it with this existing design. People are looking for something very different. And then expand PPC, that's just a no-brainer. Yes, you can get sales from competitor keywords. You just have to go the paid route. So we're going to go through one more example here. And this is around finding a gap in the MKL. This is a little bit different of a scenario. And if let's say you're an agency or you're working with one of your internal products, you might have products that are doing extremely well from an SEO perspective. And you're going to want to ask yourself, at what point have you gone far enough with optimizing SEO, and when is it time to focus on performance? So this listing is doing really well. They're indexed for 100% of the keywords in the master keyword list, but could this listing be doing even better? So if I'm trying to find gaps in the master keyword list, I can see that there are some gaps, like bird watching for kids is index 32. This would be an example of a gap here. But I look at my listing and I see that it's in my title as a broad match. Could I switch this from a broad to an exact match and get more ranking juice? Sure, I could get an extra 500 ranking juice. But this search term is only getting, you can see here, 669 searches a month out of almost 100,000 for this niche. So could I rewrite this? Yes. Is it going to make an impact in the business? Maybe, maybe not. Right? Same thing with this, binoculars for kids bulk. This one wasn't in the listing anywhere, but at the same time, it's only 500 searches a month. So could I improve my rank from writing this into my title in an exact match? Sure. If I'm selling a low price version of these binoculars, maybe a lot of teachers or people are buying them for parties, for sure, I could put that into my listing. But at this point, I might want to start looking either at outlier keywords. So you can see here, if I go to my outliers and I type in gift, I can see there's like gifts for kids under $10, 7-year-old gifts. These are areas that I might want to start exploring. And instead of going from 30 to 1 on a 500 search volume keyword, could I now start to get indexed in like position 9 or 25 for a keyword with thousands of searches a month, or 3-year-old birthday gift, 94,000 searches a month? Not necessarily things that you would write into your title, but things into the bullet points, combining these efforts. It's all about the combo attacks, not just doing one thing at a time, but doing multiple things simultaneously, adjusting your listing, setting up your rank radar highlights, and then also expanding your PPC coverage on these keywords just to see if they perform. So that's going to wrap up what we do for right now. Again, if you're not able to access the workflow, it's going to be in the YouTube description. We're also going to send an email out tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. It's going to have this call recording. It's going to have the full PDF SOP. So if you can't follow along on your own now, that's don't stress it too much. This is where we wrap up this section. Just remember, Amazon's ranking algorithm, performance times relevancy. This is your performance component. What you want to try to do with these is you're going to be updating your listing ideally once a week. You're going to see results sometimes in as little as a day. So you could be going through changes much more often. I think realistically, if people are going and making one meaningful change to their listing once a week, then that's going to put people in a good position. So you're just going to be working back and forth between the MKL, finding a gap, seeing if that gap is in your listing builder, rewriting and uploading, setting up your rank radar highlights. And you're just going to do that week after week after week, working your way down the list until you've filled those gaps, and now you're relying entirely on performance. If you want some help going through this workflow, if you're an existing Data Dive user, you can scan this QR code and book a call directly with Scott. He's our CSM, and he can help you with doing an analysis of your SEO, setting up your rank radar highlights, and building out a testing plan for how you would change your listing over a period of weeks or months. This is a section about Rufus and Cosmo considerations. We get a lot of questions about this. Like, what's going on? Is Data Dive going to work anymore? Should I still be optimizing my listing like this? Here's the truth, okay? Rufus and Cosmo is already here and it's already working in some categories. Amazon is rolling this out. It's going to get more and more prevalent as time goes on. Amazon is also doing other things, like in some categories, they are changing the listing without your knowledge. And sometimes it works out for the better. A lot of times it causes you to get de-indexed for keywords. So we are going to have a separate session with Jeffrey Anderson, and we're going to do a deep dive just on Rufus and Cosmo. What I would say is right now, this still works. What I'm showing you, it still works. Over time, the effect of this is going to get less and less pronounced. But going and making these optimizations works now. What we're going to do in office hours and for the certification is give you like the fundamental, this is the base, this is the starting point. And just like we did with Bernard Nader a couple of weeks ago on his slightly different PPC launch strategy, there's going to be a whole separate SOP that he's already given to our team that's going to go through like, okay, how do I optimize for Rufus? What are the considerations with Cosmo recognition, things like that. So that is coming. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. This does work still now. Be careful about keyword duplicates. This is what was promised. So anyone who's watching the recap on YouTube, this is the real world case study about fixing catalog issues. And I'm really excited about this. This is from one of our new data dive coaches, Dustin Wilson. He's a seller first. He manages multiple Amazon brands, and he's one of our newest data dive coaches. This was on a product that he was managing, and I was like, let's bring this into office hours for real world case studies, because I think this is going to be valuable. And it's also related to SEO, because this is a separate side of relevancy and getting ranked for keywords that has nothing to do with what is written into your listing. It all deals with what goes on in the back end of Amazon's catalog. So we talked about this a little bit when we teased it last week. The situation is we had really good organic ranks for a ton of different keywords, and then all of a sudden we're not indexed for pretty much anything. And this is a screenshot from Scale Insights. You can see right around, this is the 8th of September, this is the 8th of September. We go from having a normal amount of sessions to a huge drop in sessions. And so what we're going to be talking about is, how did Dustin diagnose these problems? What was the strategy to fix the problem? And what was the ultimate impact relating to GL codes, incorrect product type, and the incorrect browse node? So the diagnosis, this is the problem. There's a few different ways that Dustin was alerted to this. And if you see similar things that are happening in your account, you might want to look into this. So number one is inside of the seller app, he was seeing that multiple days back to back was seeing way lower sales and way lower sessions. He also went into Keepa, and I covered out the identifiable product information here. He went into Keepa, and just imagine this is telling me one browse node here. And then when he went forward a few days, it was a totally different browse node. So he saw lower sales, went into Keepa, confirmed his browse node was changed. And then inside of Data Dive, you could see de-indexing for a lot of keywords, these 101 plus. So the core issues, which we later had to find out, were the incorrect product type and incorrect browse nodes. So this should say solution here, not diagnosis, but the solution was, I think we make all of this out to be way more complicated than it actually is. It's just a lot of headache and a lot of dealing with seller support. But the solution here was just reach out to Amazon seller support and fix the browse node. At least that's the goal. So this is a small sample. I blurred out all of the emails, but there was like 8 or 9 emails back and forth. There was multiple calls that Dustin had to get on. And it's basically Amazon telling Dustin that his product type is incorrect for the node. So I can't give the example of the product here. We want to keep that confidential. But imagine you're selling a food storage bag, which is like for storing food. And you were previously in kitchen accessories. And then all of a sudden, with no warning, Amazon switches your product type to garage equipment, right? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And that's kind of what happened here. It's a little bit more nuanced than that, but that's pretty much what happened. So the solution here is a lot of back and forth between Amazon, multiple emails, multiple calls, multiple seller central support reps. The first half of September, there was no change. There was a lot of arguing, like, you can't be in this browse node. No, we're changing things. He had to talk to different seller support agents. And eventually what they actually found the problem was on the back end is that the browse node recognizes a different product type. And so in order to switch the browse node, you had to first switch the product type. And so here we are at the second half of September. They weren't able to change the product type manually. So he just recently did this. The seller support people, he was not able to change his product type in the, Andy, they switch you from fishing to electronics. Yeah, we'll get into that in the Q&A. Second half of September he wasn't able to go in and change the product type himself. He had to upload a flat file to accomplish. And so where we are now, you can see that this isn't all blurred out. It's just the identifiable information. But they're basically like, okay, we switched your product type, but we're not able to put you into the browse node. And the current issue is that you can see here, product type was changed to the correct product type, but only on the parent. They've only done this on the parent so far. They're still working to resolve the product type mismatch on children. And based on his understanding, once the product type gets updated for each of the children, then they'll be able to put him back into the correct browse node. So why did Amazon do this? We have no idea. probably just some line of code and they decided that he's in the wrong product type. Why is this so difficult to fix? We don't know, but it is ultimately fixable. And so where we are today is you can see there was like a couple of days where he was de-indexed and he's still getting de-indexed for a few keywords, but overall he was able to recover. The thing that you don't want to do here is let this sit for a month and then all of your performance that you previously got, all of those clicks, all of those conversions, all of those sales, now you have no performance for like 30 days and now you have to rebuild that and rebuild your organic ranks. So he was able to bounce back pretty quick, given this is not completely done yet, but we're estimating a little bit more time until the children ASINs have the correct product type and then be able to switch back into the previous browse node. Overall, this took about 28 days, not full-time effort, but about 10 to 15 hours between emails, between calls, about a month to get this thing resolved. So worth the time though, right? Not fully resolved yet, but worth the time. Good thing he was able to diagnose this quickly and take action. Overall, the impact is, like we said, product type is changed, but only for the parent. They're still working to mismatch children. Browse node's not changed. It'll likely get changed when the children get fixed. Impressions are a little bit lower than normal. It's not 100% of where it was. Previously successful PPC campaigns are not performing because of this mismatch, and organic rank has improved for most keywords. So we don't have an SOP on this yet, but we will soon. My goal is to have it done in about a week, where it's going to be step-by-step, follow what Dustin did here. This is kind of what we're getting into with the Rufus and Cosmo. When we do the deeper SOP with Jeffrey and his team, it's going to go deep into this. Another Inner Circle student, Colin Raja, he's basically launching products completely disregarding what's written into the listing and getting indexed for keywords from day one. There's a lot of power in this back end stuff that you tell Amazon. And if you get this right, it's going to potentially even be more effective than rewriting your listing, as I've shown right now. We don't have that content ready yet, but you're going to see it's going to be ready once we get through the training on the data dive certification. Cool. So that's everything we have for today. Let's get into announcements. And if you have questions, you can feel free to start dropping them into the chat. So our October lineup for office hours, we just wrapped up Optimize SEO. Keep an eye on your email and you'll be able to get the recording of this. You'll be able to get the PDF. Next week, you do not want to miss this. It gets a little bit more complicated. SEO, listing writing is easy. CTR rather, that's what we're covering next week. That's going to be all about main images. So how do you optimize your main image? That's going to be the week of October 7th. After that, we're going to be doing Optimize CVR. That's the week of October 14th. Then we're going to do Optimize Revenue, PPC. That's going to be week of October 21st. And then on the week of October 28th, we're going to do a review of the Data Dive certification. We're going to do a ton of practice questions. And then for anyone who wants to start going through the certification process, it's when we're going to launch that beta test. So this is what we're doing for the next few weeks. New feature. This is live for all users. It was live for beta for like 2 weeks. We got out of beta really quick on this. You can now add custom keywords, any keywords you want. Even if they're not in Data Dive, you can add them to your rank radar. We have a video on the YouTube channel that explains how to do this. This is live for everyone, not just beta users. Also live for new users, we have a new workflow for connecting your PPC account to Data Dive. This gives you so much more detail. Before we get to the sections on optimizing for revenue, you're going to want to have your PPC account connected. It's going to give you a lot of extra data. Also live for all users. This has been live for a couple months now. You can do niche compare in your MKL. You can compare 2 different points in time, and you can now, and it's also a guide for setting up auto dive. So go to the YouTube channel or scan the QR to watch the video. If you're interested in joining Seller Systems or Data Dive, there's links down below in the video. We have some special discounts. If you join Inner Circle, it's $500 off, but you also get a big discount on Data Dive. And then if you're not using Data Dive yet, we'll give you a 1-month starter trial. We'll give you a 30-minute onboarding call, and we'll give you a starter plan.